Reverend Father President of Mount St. Mary College, Honorable Chairman, members of the Board of Trustees, distinguished faculty and staff, fellow recipients of honorary degrees, Madam Elizabeth Ailes and Mr. Joseph Riley, patrons and parents, graduates, and all of you students and friends of Mount Mary's, I bring you all warm and prayerful greetings and wishes from the Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace at the Vatican. I wish to thank Mount St. Mary College for heartily inviting me to celebrate and be part of this celebration of the graduation day and to receive this honorary degree. I'm delighted and feel honored to be associated with this college in this very distinguished way. But there is, for me, also a resonance with my past life here in the United States. In 1975, at St. Anthony on the Hudson, a conventual Franciscan seminary in Rensselaer overlooking the Hudson River Valley, I received my master's degree in theology and divinity. Today, 37 years later, I stand at another Catholic institution overlooking the same Hudson River Valley to celebrate the conferment of another academic title, and I'm grateful to Mount St. Mary's for that. I am certain that the honor you so kindly extend to me today recognizes the importance of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, and so let me tell you a little bit about this council and what we do. Nearly 50 years ago, when church representatives gathered in Rome for a meeting which then came to be referred to as the Second Vatican Council, the leaders of the church which had gathered over there recognized and were shocked by the immense hardship which still afflict the greater part of humankind today. So the meeting decided to establish an office or a body within the church to take care of the problems of justice and peace around the world and to promote the advancement of all peoples. And so, Pope John Paul VI took the initiative and formed a small commission of justice and peace. Later on in 1987, Pope John Paul II of blessed memory would change the name of that body to the Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace and entrusted with this mandate to stimulate the Catholic community all around the world to promote progress in needy regions and social justice on the international scene in accordance with the gospel and the social teachings of the church. This body is what is now called the Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace, and that is the body that I have the distinguished honor to preside over at the Vatican. In simple terms, then, the church has this council to promote the active engagement of Christians for justice and peace in the world, and to do this from the vantage point of their Christian faith and their invitation and attempt to witness to the love and the charity of Christ. For as Pope Benedict XVI puts it, human activity, when it is inspired by love, ends up anticipating the kingdom of God on earth, the kingdom of justice and the kingdom of peace, which is the history that all of humanity is yearning for and striving after. So now, half a century on, how do we carry on this mandate entrusted to us? 6 basic principles underline the work we do at the Vatican. And the principles are concern for human dignity, the dignity of every human being, and the brotherhood of humanity. The dignity of every person and the common good. Solidarity, subsidiarity, and the invitation to do things out of love for people. And then the universal destination of the goods of the earth and the need to prioritize reconciliation. Dear friends, when I prepared to come and to so address you, I was pleasantly surprised by the resonances and the connection that existed between the work of our office and Mount St. Mary College. It is a faith vision that leads to service, as your own college's motto states. The faith vision of Mount St. Mary is this: that whatever the religious background of those who come here to study, faith in a personal and a provident God is not set aside as peripheral to the educational quest of this place and of its students, but is taken seriously as an intelligent, moral, responsible value for contemporary people. Now, this faith vision has generated here in Mount St. Mary a rich blend of scholarship and spirituality, which is the proud heritage of the two religious groups which are in charge of this place. I'm referring to the Dominican Order and the Franciscan congregation. These have inspired a rich combination of the quest for spirituality and intellectual excellence in this place, which has meant and driven people to strive after an inclusive excellence for leadership and for service. Some of you have already made an experience of this, as you've traveled to other places to witness to the excellence that you have attained studying here at Mount St. Mary. You've traveled to the Dominican Republic to render service to poor, indigent communities. But a good lecture, which goes without examples, is really no good lecture. So let me give some examples of what we do, which again resonate with the educational enterprise here in Mount St. Mary. When I was appointed to this office, I sought audience with the Holy Father, and I asked him what he expected of me. And he told me just to recognize and to remember that leaders of the church need to be pastoral workers and not politicians. And so with that, we went on. And then we discovered in Pope Paul VI's writings a passage where he had explained peace in terms of development. Paul VI had said that peace actually means development. And where there is development, there is peace. And so with that, we pursued our study and then discovered that instead of recognizing the GDP, gross domestic product, as an indicator of peace, we could find some other indicators of real progress and peace. And so we found out, for example, that the real indicators of progress and peace consisted in people's access to health care, people's access to education, people's access to communication and information, and people's access, most importantly, to education. These are 4 pillars of human development approach. And as you listen to me mention them, you must find a lot of resonances because here in Mount St. Mary's, you have faculties which respond to these. So it is that the competencies with which we strive to fashion and to produce peace and justice all over the world and to advance the progress and the development of people are competencies which are developed here in Mount St. Mary's. So I feel like welcoming all of you as partners of the business of the Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace. And I'd like so to extend a very welcoming hand to all of you, partners of justice and peace in the Vatican and in the Church. And so what we do, In 1988, we found ourselves resonating with a statement made by a former president of the United States. Mr. Clinton had introduced here in the Congress of the United States an African Growth and Opportunity Act, in which the president said, by opening markets and building businesses and creating jobs, we can help and strengthen each other. By supporting the education of your people, we can strengthen your future and help each other. For centuries, other nations have come to Africa to exploit its gold and diamond and its minerals. Now is the time for Africans to cultivate something more precious, the mind and the heart of the people of Africa through what? Education. And in this new vision of Africa's future, education was and is still the central concern. Just last week about this time, Saturday morning like this, I stood in a place in southern Italy in the region called Calabria, in a place called Lamezia Terme. And as for very many people, Calabria simply means unemployment, violence, and mafia. But this time we were gathered in Calabria because there was now a new bishop who wanted to change the face of Calabria and wanted to do it with the help of our office. So we put together a team of entrepreneurs, and we went to Calabria and started a school called the Euro-Mediterranean School of Church Social Doctrine to encourage and to form young people in Calabria to become entrepreneurs and business people. And with that, we hope to roll away from Calabria the popular stereotype and impressions that Calabria is only a region for criminality. Then, in 2010, I had to lead a delegation of the Vatican to the United Nations. And this time it was to discuss the realization of the Millennium Development Goals. As we did, we recognized that speaker after speaker who took the floor talked about the solution of a global poverty in terms which amounted to eliminating the poor. And so the delegation of the Holy See intervened, and we reminded the assembly that combating global poverty requires investment in the resourcefulness of the poor. Rather than eliminating the poor, we must make them protagonists of their own development and help them emerge out of poverty. So the poor need education to transform them from being a liability onto society to being resourceful. And we can go on with instances. You just heard a mention of Medicus Christi, another initiative that is meant to again transfer medical care and assistance to poor, needy countries. And there is still a big undertaking called the Hope Exchange, which is meant to do telemedicine and through the use of internet, extend medical care to poor, needy areas around the world. And the list continues. But my dear friends, I've given you these examples dating from not too distant past, and it is simply to say that among you today are future teachers. Among you are nurses and future medical professionals and doctors. Among you are future leaders. Today, I too have received a degree from Mount St. Mary College. May today then be a renewal for all of us, for a renewed commitment to the world, for a new commitment to changing the face of the world and making the world a better place for everybody. So, my prayer then to all of you graduates and all of you who will come to St. Mary to study is that may the Lord help you attain the motto of this college, the search for truth, so that all of us, jointly responding to the call of the Lord, may succeed in making the world a better place for all of us. May God bless you. May God sustain and keep you.